There's something uncomfortable that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. It's not failure, it's not hard work, it's not even fear. It's this: the person you are right now is perfectly designed to produce the life you're currently living. Not accidentally, not temporarily, not because the world is unfair, but precisely. Your habits, your thinking patterns, your daily routines, your emotional reactions, your tolerance for discomfort, your definition of enough, all of it works together like a system, calibrated, refined, and stable. And that system? It is doing exactly what it was built to do. So if your life hasn't changed, if that goal still feels distant, if you keep starting, stopping, restarting, then the question is not, why am I not trying hard enough? The real question is, who do I have to become for this to be inevitable? Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If the version of you that exists today was capable of achieving that goal, it would already be done. The distance between you and what you want is not just effort, it's identity. We like to believe that success is about doing more discipline, more motivation, more grinding, more pushing. But look closer. The person who wakes up at 5 a.m. every day doesn't fight themselves to do it. The person who runs marathons doesn't negotiate with their comfort every morning. The person who builds something meaningful doesn't constantly question their worth. Why? Because they are not forcing behavior. They are expressing identity. And that changes everything. You don't wake up early because you're disciplined. You wake up early because you've become someone who doesn't argue with purpose. You don't train consistently because you're motivated. You train because discomfort is no longer your enemy. You don't build something valuable because you got lucky. You build because you see failure differently. This is where the real shift begins. Not in your actions, but in how you see yourself. There's a saying, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This means that your life is not built from your intentions. It's built from your identity. And identity is powerful because it protects itself. If you believe you are not consistent, you will unconsciously prove it. If you believe you are not disciplined, your actions will align with that belief. If you believe success is not for people like you will sabotage every opportunity that contradicts that story. Not on purpose, but automatically. Because the mind always tries to stay coherent. So when you try to change your life without changing your identity, what happens? You feel resistance, heavy resistance. You start something new, and suddenly everything feels harder than it should. You get tired faster. You lose focus quicker. You start questioning yourself. You feel like you're forcing something unnatural. That's not laziness. That's identity protecting its current form. So, to become someone new, you don't just have to build new habits. You have to let parts of your current self die. Not physically, but psychologically, emotionally, internally. You have to disappoint the version of you that seeks comfort. You have to betray the version of you that finds safety in limitation. You have to outgrow the stories that once protected you. And that is painful, because those stories didn't just appear. They were built over years, sometimes from fear, sometimes from failure, sometimes from what people said about you, or what you started believing about yourself. And now, you're being asked to let them go. The Bible in the book of Romans 12:2 says this: "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That transformation is not comfortable. It's not clean. It's not linear. It feels like confusion, like doubt, like stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't fully exist yet. You start doing things that feel unfamiliar. You think differently. You respond differently. You choose differently. And part of you whispers, "Who do you think you are?" That voice? That's the old identity trying to survive. But here's the paradox. The more you listen to that voice, the more you stay the same. And the more you ignore it, the more you grow into something greater. This is why growth feels like loss. Because you're not just gaining discipline, you're losing excuses. You're not just building confidence. You're losing the comfort of self-doubt. You're not just chasing a goal. You're leaving behind a version of yourself that can no longer exist. And that version will resist. It will negotiate. It will remind you of how easy things used to be. It will tempt you back into familiarity. Because familiarity feels safe, even when it's limiting. But safety is not where transformation lives. Transformation lives at the edge, at the boundary between who you are and who you could become. That's where discomfort lives. That's where uncertainty lives. That's where growth happens. And most people, they visit that edge briefly, then they retreat. They touch discomfort, then run back to comfort. They start changing, then return to familiarity. And that's why their lives stay the same. Not because they lack potential, but because they refuse to stay in the space where transformation happens. Let me say this. Growth requires you to stay longer in discomfort than you're used to. Not just once, not just when you feel motivated, but consistently. Because identity is not built in moments, it's built in repetition. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, every time you act in alignment with the person you want to become, every time you refuse to return to your old patterns, you are casting a vote for a new identity. And slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, that identity begins to take shape. At first, it feels fake, forced, unnatural, but then something shifts. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt uncomfortable becomes expected. What once required effort becomes automatic. And that's when you realize that you didn't just achieve something. You became someone. And here's the most powerful part of all this. This process is irreversible. Once you expand into a new version of yourself, you cannot go back. You can try. You can fall. You can take steps backward, but you will never fully fit into your old identity again. Because now you've seen more. You've experienced more. You've proven something to yourself that cannot be undone. And that changes everything. Even if the goal changes, even if the path shifts, even if life takes unexpected turns, the person you became in the process remains. Stronger, wiser, more capable. This reflects the saying, a man cannot step into the same river twice, because it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. That's what transformation does. It changes you at a level that goes beyond results. So even if you don't reach the exact goal you started with, the growth was never wasted. Because the real reward was never the goal. It was who you had to become to pursue it. Think about that. You are not chasing something external. You are uncovering something internal, something that already exists within you, but remains dormant until you demand more from yourself. The goal is not the destination. It's the tool, the pressure, the chisel, and you are the sculpture, shaped slowly, sometimes painfully, by every decision you make. So the next time you feel stuck, the next time you feel like you're not progressing, the next time you question why things aren't changing, don't ask, what should I do differently? Ask, who am I being that keeps producing this result? And then ask the harder question, who must I become for this to change? Because once you answer that, and more importantly, once you start living that answer, everything shifts. Not overnight, not instantly, but inevitably. And one day, you will wake up, look at your life, and realize you didn't just reach a goal. You became the person who could. If this shifted something in you, give this video a like and let me know in the comments what you're working on becoming. And if you're serious about changing your life from the inside out, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Thank you for watching.